You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Thanks for adventuring with us as we discover what incredible athletes and outdoor enthusiasts are doing all over the world.
Hey everyone, Caleb here. Now I know what you must be thinking. This is most definitely not Kurt's voice. Well, as you can probably imagine, producing a podcast like the Adventure Sports Podcast takes a lot of time and effort. And over the years, I've helped out with the Adventure Sports Podcast on the back end, editing episodes here and there as Kurt and Mason needed it. And so Kurt reached out to me, who, by the way, is also my dad, to see if I would do a few of the revisited episodes to free up his schedule a little bit. Speaking of which, today's episode revisited is Crossing Death Valley on Foot with Ashley Winchester. This is a fantastic episode where Ashley talks about her attempt to complete a fastest known time, FKT, on foot across the 165-mile arid moonscape of Death Valley. Ashley Winchester is a fantastic athlete known for her FKTs, having more FKT records than any other woman at the time of this episode's original release. I hope you enjoy the episode. Here's Mason.
Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, I really do always ask this first. Where are you coming from? And is that home? And if not, where's home?
I am currently in Klamath Falls, Oregon. I wouldn't call it home, but I spend a lot of time here. I actually don't really have a home per se. I sort of split my time between Klamath Falls and Chico, California, and wherever the road takes me. I do a lot of traveling.
Do you have like a mobile setup then to make that possible?
I don't actually. It's something that I'm kind of working on, trying to figure out what the best step would be for both, podcasting and freelance writing, because I'm a freelance writer. And so I kind of need some sort of setup that works perfectly for all of that so that I can travel more.
Well, you mentioned, you're adventuring and you travel around to adventure a lot, and you're really well known and becoming even more well known for fastest known times. That is something folks on Without Compromise have heard quite a bit about. Athletic does have a partnership with them, but the kind of the growth of fastest known times is almost unavoidable from how everyone was forced out of events last year and onto different sorts of challenges. How did you get into that world? What was kind of the trajectory that led you there?
Yeah, I actually started doing fastest known times. I think it's been 2 years ago now this month. I'm pretty sure it's been 2 years. And what the person who got me started on it was Jason Hardrath, and he's the top FKTer. He has 96 FKTs now.
Jeez.
And so Jason and I are, we've been dating for quite a while now. And he started doing these FKTs. And for me, I was always kind of aware of FKTs on the periphery, but just kind of wrote them off as something that, there's no way I'd be able to do that. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not elite. There's no way I could do fastest known times. And he convinced me to do one. And I chose one that was kind of a 50K distance, and crushed it, and just kind of got addicted immediately. Started picking out fastest known times around California and then Oregon. And now I've kind of started this obsessive pursuit of them. And it's very strange for me to say, because when I first started this pursuit of FKTs, it wasn't really part of the plan, but now I'm the top female. I'm the female with the most historical FKTs. So it's kind of, it's been kind of a crazy development, setting goals and just kind of running these super amazing routes in beautiful places.
What does it feel like to be the woman with the most FKTs? What does that feel like to you?
It's weird, honestly,
Yeah.
because that wasn't really a goal of mine until just this last year. And, even then, when I started off the year, I kind of was like, oh, there's no way, because there's a lot of other ladies who are out there, crushing FKTs. But I am really lucky in that my lifestyle and my partner are both incredibly supportive of doing these things. And so what happens a lot is, Jason and I will go weekend warrior and take down FKTs over the weekends. And we're not opposed to driving, 10 hours for a 2-day weekend.
That was something that amazed me about y'all, is that it's not even the FKT half. The FKT to me is half of what's impressive. The other half is getting there. You guys just it's unreal. Y'all drive. Y'all make this 15-hour window now possible. Like take where you are and put 15 hours of driving around it, and everything within that circle is now possible. And
Yes.
to me, it's like, oh, it's 10 hours away. There's no way I could do that this weekend. Y'all just go for it. And I'm like, dang, they drove all night to get there. Then they do the FKT. Then they come back. That's amazing. That's what I find most impressive, is the
Yeah.
will to just drive. What do you do? What do you listen to that whole time?
So there's a lot of things that happen when we take on these drives. We do listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts. We also, just have discussions together. It's a great time to sort of spend time talking with the person that you're traveling with. And so we talk a lot. We've cracked some harebrained business ideas. Just like sometimes it takes the, I'm going to apple, you drive type of a thing. So, I mean, there's I would say that we're also kind of productive. Like I'll do some writing while we drive, or, research other FKTs, research routes. There's a lot that we do as long as we have internet access.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably thinking and getting like an athlete before a game, getting ready for the FKT itself. So you said when you first did it, completed one, got the record of the fastest known time, and it was like an addiction, like you were hooked. How did it start to grow from there? Did it just become this list that you wanted to complete, or were there any sort of classic routes that drew you in? What was it for you from that point?
Well, at that point, I just kind of decided to start exploring these FKTs that were sort of nearby. I started making a list of FKTs that, were like the dream FKT, the bucket list FKTs. And when, I had time, I'd travel and go tick one off the list. And, they started kind of getting bigger and bigger. And it's just been a slow sort of natural development.
How many of them have you attempted and not gotten the record or not completed?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I haven't actually kept track of the ones that I haven't completed. But I mean, I would say that, failure is a pretty common thing with FKTs, because there's plenty of times where you might run the FKT and then not actually get the fastest time, even though you completed the route. For me, more often than not, my failures have come from not completing the route for some reason or another. And I'm trying to think of how many I've actually failed on.
Yeah, definitely not trying to draw it to like a negative point of view, but we only see those highlights from the FKT athletes. And I'm always curious, how many attempts do you miss it? Miss either you do the whole thing, but you didn't get the time, or like you said, you don't complete it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I would say I've probably there's at least 5 that I can think of, if not 7 different routes that I've failed on or not completed. And like I don't see failure as a negative thing. it's very much a positive thing for me, even though in that moment, it's always really, really hard. But I do feel like, I very openly and enjoy talking about my failures because those are some of the greatest adventures. and B, that's where I feel like I learn the most about myself and about my abilities and about where I need to kind of search for or apply myself to be better or be stronger.
Is there one in particular you could share a story about a failure specifically where, you learned something through it?
So the biggest one that actually comes to mind is called the Death Valley Crossing. And I kind of made a big deal about this one on my social media when I was coming up to it, but I've tried that one twice and I have failed twice at it for different reasons. The first time, so just for a little bit of background, this route is about 165 miles. It goes from the northernmost point of Death Valley to the southernmost point of Death Valley. It's completely off trail and 100% unsupported, solo and unsupported. And so being Death Valley, there's no natural places that you can refill your water. So you carry all of your water from the beginning that you need for the entire route, which means you're carrying, about 50 or 60 pounds on your back. So it's kind of like backpacking, fast packing style. It's a multi-day adventure. And the first time I tried it, my training definitely was not up to par for it, but more than anything, I actually ran low on water about 100 miles in and decided to pull the plug because I knew that I couldn't go 65 more miles on the little bit of water I had left. So that one, that was a big learning experience for me because that was the first time I had spent more than one night completely solo in the wilderness. And I mean, it was pretty magical as far as that goes. I mean, just really empowering and kind of like, okay, I can do these things. I can be out here by myself and be totally fine for multiple nights. And so that was really cool. And, just kind of finding that magic that's in the night when you're walking or running through the night. And that was a big eye opener for me. The most recent failure on that route was just at the end of December, this last December, so not that long ago. And I took more water with me this time. And it's kind of funny because what ended up ultimately making me pull the plug was there was a torrential downpour of rain in Death Valley. So,
Jeez.
I'm in this, like, one of the driest places on earth. And it's supposed to be, one of the hottest places on earth too. And, it's like below freezing at night and dumped rain on me on the last day. And it just, it turned into this crazy, like, mud fest. Some of my gear was soaked. I was slipping and sliding in mud and just kind of decided with that attempt that, I couldn't go much further, carrying that amount of weight and slipping and sliding all over the place. So I ended up pulling the plug on that one as well.
What's going through your head out there when you're, carrying a pack that size and just walking into this moonscape of a desert? I can't imagine the feeling, of just saying, I've got to go 165 miles. The thrill, the excitement, but also like, oh man, this is wild.
Yeah.
But when things are going really poorly like that out there, and how do you handle it?
Well, I knew that the forecast was calling for some rain, and I kind of expected it to be more like, this is Death Valley. It's going to dump rain on the mountains, in the Sierras, and then on the mountain range that's on the west side of the valley of Death Valley, and that there would hardly be a trickle of rain into the valley itself. And when I first started, there wasn't actually that much of a chance of rain, so I was pretty optimistic. But I did, just in case, I threw rain gear into my pack, which, is just adding more weight. But I'm glad that I did, because it rained for hours. It was definitely, when it started raining, it was really frustrating. And at first I was like, I'm just going to walk through it. I'm just going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. And then I kind of had this realization that, if all of my gear and clothing and everything gets wet, and then I go into this night where it's, below freezing, I'm probably not going to make it. And so I made the decision to hunker down, sort of next to this big plant, in this area called the Devil's Cornfield. And I hunkered down next to this plant and put this, rain poncho, this little lightweight rain poncho, emergency rain poncho, over the top of me and my gear, and kind of sat in a ball until most of the rain stopped. And when I was sitting there, I kind of fluctuated between, being really motivated and going, yeah, okay, when this rain stops, I'm going. Like, this is happening. I'm still going to go. I have time. I'm still on pace. But also then being really frustrated and a little bit scared, because I know, having been through that section before, I knew sort of what I was coming up to, and I was really worried about the mud situation. And so, I definitely had moments where I was crying. I had moments where I was just, angry. There's a lot of indecision there, because I just kind of, of course, those thoughts of like, oh, I should just give up now, go through your head. But I wanted to at least try. And so when it stopped raining, or when it lightened up enough and I could kind of see the end of the storm, I immediately got up, I packed up, and I started walking again. And very quickly realized what that rain did to the soil there. And it was like you said, it was like cement. It was both slippery, but also would stick to the bottom of my shoes in such a way that it was like building up these like platforms of mud. But I couldn't get it off either. I was trying to scrape it off with my trekking poles. I was like trying to kick it off. I couldn't get it off of my shoes. So it felt like, each foot weighed an extra 8 pounds. And then one of the other things that really kind of got to me that made me feel sort of really bad was, I'm off trail in this very arid desert. And as with that rain and the mud, my footprints were very deep and obvious through there. And that bugged me actually quite a bit, because I know that in a place like Death Valley, those footprints are going to be there for decades. So that was that definitely played into my thought processes as well, is because I'm walking through, there's like these little plants that are popping up after the rain. It was really amazing, because the rain just brought the valley to life. I saw scorpions and birds were suddenly everywhere, bugs and grasshoppers. It was so weird. And all these little plants that were suddenly green everywhere. And I just kind of went, I don't feel good about leaving these, my path through here. So that definitely played into the decision-making process as well.
Hey friends, here at the Adventure Sports Podcast, health is really a priority. That's part of the reason why for over 10 years we've been encouraging people to get out there and have some fun, because when we become more active, it makes us healthier. Our focus on health is one of the reasons that I'm excited about today's sponsor, True Diagnostic. Did you know that your calendar age doesn't always match how old your body truly is? Your biological age, the age of your cells and organs, is actually the number one predictor of your risk for serious diseases like heart disease, cancer, dementia, and more. That's why learning your biological age can be truly life-changing, and that's exactly what the True Age test from True Diagnostic helps you do. It's a simple at-home test. You just prick your finger and then use the provided packaging and a prepaid envelope to send the sample in for testing. No doctor's visits required, no labs, but you'll get great information that can help you to be healthier and understand how you're doing with your own health habits. Now, I always joke that I'm 23 years old. You've heard me say that forever. Obviously, I'm quite a bit older than that, but I'm curious to find out what my biological age is. It's kind of eye-opening when you learn that your biological age, if it's just 5 years older than your actual age, your risk for major diseases can go up by 30 to 50%. That's kind of a wake-up call. But due to epigenetics, and this is the part that really inspires me, up to 90% of biological aging is driven by lifestyle. That means the way that we eat, move, sleep, manage stress, all these things play massive roles in how fast or slow our bodies age. That aligns with the Adventure Sports podcast so much. So I'm taking the test. I'm excited to find out the results. And in addition to my biological age, True Diagnostic also provides a personalized report that's full of science-backed steps that we can all take to slow down aging and improve our health over time. If you care about protecting your health and want to find out what your real age is, head over to truediagnostic.com and use my code ASP to get 20% off your entire order or subscription. That's truediagnostic.com. Use ASP at checkout to get 20% off. Your future self will thank you.
What an adventure. Jeez.
Yeah,
No, just the way you paint the picture. I mean, if anyone who's never been to Death Valley, it's beyond words. You really have to experience it. You don't feel like you're on the same planet that you live on.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a trippy place. That is crazy to cross it like that on foot. But so kudos to you for the second time. Do you think there's another time, a third time in your future?
I've thought about that a lot. When I first made the decision to stop, I actually, I was in day 3 and I was in a lot of pain because, I'm traveling on average 33 miles a day. The first day I traveled 40 miles and, my pack starting weight was probably about 60 pounds with the extra gear that I threw in there because of the weather. And, lots of food and lots of water. And, there's definitely a lot of pain. Yeah. When I was kind of in that pain and in that mud, I was like, never again. I'm never doing this again. This route is really, this is silly. Why would I do this? And I started thinking, well, maybe I could do it in a self-supported manner where I could leave water drops and, water and food in certain areas so that I could pick it up when I walk by, or, I started thinking about that. And then as I was walking out to where I was going to get picked up, I was like, I knew that I would probably go for it again. And then after talking to some other, FKTers and ultra athletes and mountain athletes, everybody's kind of like, yeah, sometimes the ones that mean the most to you are the ones that get away from you a few times before you nab them. And so I think that there's a good chance that I will go back. I don't know exactly when. Maybe this coming winter. I'm not sure. But yeah, I do think this route, because of the style, takes a very specific and specialized and dedicated training for it. Because walking that many miles with that amount of weight on your back is really tough on your body. And so, I think that I would get more dedicated with my training, but with the training that needs to happen for that, I also think that it would, it definitely impacts my running ability and my speed, because there's a lot more strength training and a lot more just slow hiking miles as far as training for that kind of a route. And so it kind of depends on if I make the decision to change my training and focus on that and sort of, take a step back from running fast, I guess you could say.
Mm. So now you right now you have 39 FKTs.
Yeah.
and just some unbelievable routes in there, unbelievable experiences, I'm sure. Has there been one that's really stuck out to you as maybe one of the most memorable, or one that comes to mind the quickest as a great experience?
Yeah, I mean, there's you know, tons of routes that I absolutely love and would love to go back and do again. One of the more recent ones that I did um, is called Telescope Peak from Shorty's Well, and that's also in Death Valley. And it goes from pretty much Badwater Basin at like negative 260 feet below sea level, and goes all the way up to the summit of Telescope Peak, which is the tallest mountain that's in the range right there. And it's about 32 miles round trip. There's a bunch of off-trail navigation, bushwhacking, and then like it's one of the largest continuous climbs that you can do in the United States. So it's about 11,600 feet of continuous climbing. So that one was actually pretty special to me because I went for it last year and failed at it because of the snow conditions that were up on Telescope Peak. And I had to turn around at the trail that goes to the summit on the ridge, because you kind of pop up from this off trail section up onto a trail that's on the ridge line, and you go up to the summit. So I actually had to turn around there and head back down. And so I went back, I think it was over this last Thanksgiving, and got the FKT on that one. And that it really meant a lot to me because of that failure before, but also because, you know, I really love Death Valley, and the route is just so beautiful. Like, you start off, you know, in the Badwater Basin, and you climb up through this canyon, and then you go off, you know, out of the canyon, you climb up out of the canyon, and you go through, I think it's like 4 different ecosystems on the way up, because you're traveling through, you know, you end up in the Alpine. And so it's just a really cool route. It's beautiful. Death Valley is a kind of a special place to me. And so, you know, going back and getting that one was really special.
Place of joy and pain, Death Valley.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny.
It's a special place.
It really is. It's an amazing place. And, you know, so many people, they just drive through, because there's a highway that goes through the valley. They just drive through and stop at Badwater Basin and go, oh, okay, below sea level, it's a salt pan, awesome, and they leave. But Death Valley, there's so much more to it. And there's actually so much life there. The plants and the animals are pretty amazing, and so much to explore.
Well, I'd love to move into rapid fire, if you don't mind. I know Death Valley, you're crossing, kind of consumed the episode, but I think it's a really cool story to tell, and I just think it's definitely unique for the show. So if that's cool, we can move on to rapid fire.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Sweet. So, you know, you're known for FKTs, and you're always, you know, getting more, and done almost 40 now, which is just crazy. All those experiences, they're just awesome. But what would you say you're most curious right now about outside of FKTs?
Ooh, most curious outside of FKTs. Well, you kind of got me there. I'm terrible at rapid fire questions,
Good.
by the way.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Like, thinking on the spot, I'm really bad. Well, being a writer, I am actually really into reading other people's memoirs right now, and finding a lot of inspiration from those.
What is your proudest achievement outside of FKTs?
Oh man, you are so good. My proudest achievement was probably actually taking a step away from my full-time job and jumping into freelance writing full-time.
Pretty exciting endeavor.
Yeah, it was really crazy. It was a really difficult decision to make, but also very exciting.
I can imagine it's you take the step, take the leap, and it's a thrill. It's a thrill, scary, exciting, just like FKT, I'm sure.
Well, and you know, it's kind of funny because I had this full-time job for I was in veterinary medicine for like 13 years, and it's pretty much
Oh,
all I
wow.
knew as far as work went, and so I had this realization actually when I was out backpacking one time. It was just like I was backpacking on the Lost Coast, and there was this just really intense feeling of peace and happiness, and just kind of this feeling of, this is where I'm meant to be. And that's kind of where I decided that I needed to change my life somehow to revolve more around the things that I love.
That's awesome. Somebody that took action, That's why Athletic Brewing's here. That's why anything's where it is. Someone took action. That's really cool. So all right, speaking of that, and this can be FKTs too, what is the biggest goal you haven't yet achieved?
Oh man.
Yeah, these are some heavy hitters.
Yeah, I know. They're not like, I can't answer these quickly. So the biggest goal, and you said this can include FKTs.
This can be anything.
Well, actually, one of my biggest goals right now is to grow my podcast and community, kind of build this community surrounding my podcast, and start having, start kind of hosting retreats and, kind of expeditions and trips for women, and to get more women into the outdoors. So I'd love to have, intro to backpacking clinics and retreats where we kind of focus on women who have maybe been victims of domestic violence and rape. There's a lot of things that I want to do with women of the wild. Right now it's a podcast, and it's a growing community of people, but that's definitely one of my biggest goals.
That is awesome. What is your favorite Athletic Brewing beer?
Ooh, the Golden.
Golden Ale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my go-to, just because it's kind of refreshing, and I like IPAs, but I feel like IPAs have a time and a place. And the Golden, it's like I can drink that anytime, anywhere. Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Golden.
All right, last question, and it's probably a doozy too. What does it mean to you to live without compromise?
Oh man, to live without compromise. I think to live without compromise is to live 100% like unabashedly yourself. And that might sound kind of self-centered or selfish, but I think that to truly embrace who you are and what you love, and to make that the center of your life, can make you, or help you become, sort of the person that you've always meant to be. And so I think that's what living without compromise is.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to this show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to grow in the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.